I founded the Threshold Choir basically because of gratitude for the experiences that singing has given me in my life. And most of the people who have joined the choir feel the same way, that this is a way to give back in the same form of what we feel so grateful for in our lives. So to be able to give, to combine singing and service, it's an old Girl Scout trick, and it's wonderful to be able to do it as a grown-up. I started the first Threshold Choir in 2000. My first experience at bedsides was in '90. I spent a day taking care of a friend who was dying of HIV/AIDS. He was comatose and agitated. And I spent the morning doing chores, and I sat down at his bedside at noon wondering what in the world I was going to do for the rest of the shift. I was terrified. I'd never sat with anyone who was dying before. And I did what I did when I was terrified in those days. This was 1990. I started singing my courage song. And I sang my courage song for 2.5 hours to my friend Larry. And as I sang it, I was calmer. As I was calmer, he was calmer. By the end of the afternoon, I was in a state of pure bliss, and he was very serene himself. I figured at that point that there were other people in the world that would be interested in doing this work with me. It took 10 years or so to figure out the internet piece and the music education piece, because I wasn't a trained musician at that point. But the growth of the choir, starting in 2000 till now, over 12 years, 105 choirs, tells me that this is work that Spirit wants happening on the planet, and I'm happy to serve this function. Part of our work in the Threshold Choir is to help families grieve. We live in a fairly lacrimophobic society where tears, we apologize for our tears. And when 2 or 3 or 4 choir members come to a house, a home where someone is dying and the family is gathered, and for some families this is the first time this has happened. They may feel uncomfortable, they may feel unsure, but here are 3 or 4 women who come in and say, may we sing with you? And we sing softly and we sing quietly when we're invited. And our singing is primarily for the person who is dying, but it's also very much for the caregivers, family members, staff, nurses, whoever happens to be available. We invite them to join with us if they're interested, or to enjoy it by listening. We leave behind music so they can sing. We have CDs that they can sing with after we're gone, and we come back as often as seems right. If someone's imminently dying, we come back every other day if we can. If their death is not tremendously imminent, or we don't think it is, because there's no surety with any of this, the timing, we might come once a week. And we start out by singing 2 or 3 songs of introduction that are from our repertoire. And one of the things that is the most surprising to me about this work is the choir members themselves have started writing songs. Our repertoire is about 450 songs, over half of which have been written by choir members in the last 7 years. And most of those songs have been written in response to an experience of singing at a bedside for a long time, for holding vigil for someone for a long time. I wanted to say early in my presentation that I come from the tribal part of the choral singing family. And I want to offer 2 quick techniques that I use. They're personal challenges, in fact. The first one is when I travel and I get in a cab, I ask the cabbie, how do you say thank you in your language? This works especially well in New York City. And when they tell me, I sing the song that we just sang together to them using the word for thank you in their language. The result has been amazing. One Sikh cabbie went on to sing the song that he sang to his sister when she was dying, because we started right away with singing and gratitude. I'm wondering if there's anyone in this room right now who has a different word for thank you that we could insert in the song we learned. Thank you in Arabic? Say it like. The other practice that I use is I wear necklaces with elephants and angels on them, and they attract attention when I walk up to a ticket counter at an airline or a store, and people ask me about them. And my practice is when people ask about my necklaces, I have to sing a song to them, and this is the song I sing to them. Most of the time, I see tears in response. People are not used to being sung to in a personal, intimate, spontaneous, close-range way. And I think this says a lot about what's wrong with our culture. We're terrified of showing who we really are, and when we sing, most of the time we are who we really are. So I give myself a break if there's elevator music going on. I don't have to sing if that's the case, but I've sung in situations that are really challenging to stop and take a minute to sing a little unison solo song about angels. But I've never regretted that I've sung it. What to tell you about the choir? We are primarily women, mostly because there are so few sacred spaces for women in our culture that it is my great joy and thrill to create one more. We are gay, straight, gray, curvy, curly. There are a few men in the organization, but the fraction of men that have joined us is very, very small. To me, women's bodies are the gate through which life begins. It seems right to me that women would guard the gate out of life. And I call this work Lullabies for the Other End of Life. I was lucky to have a mom who knew that singing was what really welcomed a new baby to this life. It was the bridge from wherever the mystery is into living. And I'm thinking song and lullabies at the end of life will give us a sense of what lies in that other direction. I'm hoping that what lies in the other direction is at least as beautiful as singing is. Let's sing again. The first song I taught you, Terima Kasih, is written by Marilyn Power Scott from Santa Barbara, California. This song, Standing Stone, is written by Melanie DeMoore of Oakland, California. Here's the first line. I will be your standing stone. I will stand circumstances where these words would be valuable. It was written for a friend of Melanie's, Erika Luckett, who is a Venezuelan guitar player who had a very fast ovarian cancer eruption. And all Melanie could think to do of at the time was to sing and to imagine herself standing for her friend. Let's sing the tune one more time. That's how softly we sing at a bedside. Generally, we'll start with whoever is the anchor of the sing at a particular bedside will sing the song sing a solo, giving the pitch, the tempo, the feel of the song, and then the choir will come in, or 2 or 3 people depending, and sing at unison. And when we feel like we've got a real sense of the unison, only then do we move into parts. And while we learn rounds and love rounds in rehearsal, and they're fabulous for the singer, we don't bring rounds in parts to bedsides. Too many layers of text and confusing things for people whose capacity might be very limited. But part songs, when we're all singing the same lyrics at the same time, that works beautifully at bedsides. So you're seeing a sense of the length and the repetitious quality of the songs that we sing at bedsides. We don't sing long choral pieces. We sing short, repetitive, chant-like, trance-inducing, songs where if somebody loses the thread, if the person we're singing to drifts off to sleep, they're not missing anything. And we take our clients falling to sleep as a standing ovation. We feel like we've done a fabulous job. Then when the leader thinks we're getting close to the end of that song, we'll sing it for the final verse on ooh. And that's a signal for all the singers that we're coming to the end. And then we sing the last verse silently, the last iteration, one more time silently to ourselves, so that we're really listening for the unsung note. We're listening for the vibration that keeps on going. And we try to build a lot of silence into our sessions. They could last 20 minutes to 40 minutes, depending on what's happening. There are a couple of songs that we would only sing with permission and understanding that it's the right circumstance for this song. One of them is a song's lyrics are, "It's all right, you can go, your memories are safe with us." And at the end of a session, I might sense that this is the right song, and I will always ask, I never assume. And if the family feels that this is the right song, then I invite them to sing with us, or they can mouth the words, or they can weep while we sing. The first time we did this was at a bedside of a woman named Margie, and she hadn't spoken in 3 days, and her family said yes, this was the right song. They were ready to say goodbye, and they wept and sang and did everything while we sang the song. And Margie came to the surface and said, without sound, "Wonderful." And that was the last communication, verbal communication that they had with their mom. Yeah, it was very beautiful. We acknowledge all the different kinds of grief. We do not push any kind of grief response. We just allow for everyone's expression of grief, because how we deal with that is as personal as a fingerprint. And each situation is totally personal, peculiar to the individual, and needs to be honored rather than directed.